name is Jennifer Vosters, and I am a stage actor and director, and also musician. So I've always really loved the arts, just kind of in general. I've always loved stories. I was the kid who played pretend, these epic pretend games that would span, many recess periods. So that was always very much part of my interest. And I started playing music when I was about 8, maybe even a little earlier. I started on piano, then I started playing viola when I was in 3rd grade. And that was a deep love of mine, and I still play, and I also play violin now. So that was very early on. I was playing music. I was in dance class. Wasn't super good, but enjoyed that artistic experience. And then I did my first sort of theater experience when I was in middle school. I was in this school musical, had a really awesome time. Did like the show choir in middle school too, but never really loved the singing as much as the acting, and didn't know until I was much older that you could do just the acting. There were straight plays. You didn't have to do the musical, but I did the musical through middle school and through high school every year. And then I found my way into a community theater and did like 2 shows with a community theater in middle school and high school. And I was on my high school forensics team, the speech and debate team. So I was very involved in drama from an extracurricular standpoint, but I didn't really take camps or classes. Just didn't really have time for it. There were so many things I was interested in that I didn't put all my eggs into that basket, because I was also doing my music. I was doing like the school newspaper. I just did a lot. And it wasn't until college that I kind of made the decision to try it out as a career. But by then I was happily an English major already, had no real desire to change that. English and writing had always been kind of my first love, so that was something I didn't want to give up. And the theater department at my alma mater was pretty small, so I just kind of stuck around the theater department without actually formally being a major. I took some classes for the first time. I did shows. I did the improv team, and then like senior year of college, I decided to try. Just see what happens professionally. I was working as an actor and director. I was about 3-4 years out of school, and had a couple of really great years, and had just booked my first kind of full calendar year out. So I was feeling really good about that. I was kind of holding up both things equally in terms of acting and directing. My longest contracts were acting, and that's kind of what I started doing first. But I began directing, really small productions about a year after I graduated, year and a half after I graduated, and had started kind of slowly accumulating some opportunities there. So this 2020 was originally going to start with me directing and assistant directing 3 shows, and then finishing the year with 2 acting contracts. So, where I left off there, I was that was my primary source of income, primary source of community, was working at different places, primarily in the Midwest and the West. Looks a little different right now, but looking to the future, I'm able to hold on a little longer while we kind of wait to see if, when theater will start to be able to hire in more regular cycles again. So I'm able to wait. So I'm gonna hold on for a little longer, I think, just to see if we can get this thing back up and running again.
With nurturing all of your creative endeavors, what has balance looked like for you?
That is such a great question. I have to be, totally honest. I have been extremely privileged with a lot of the resources available to me. My parents are very supportive and always have been. So, my first year out of school, I was doing teeny tiny, itty bitty shows in Milwaukee, and I was staying with them rent free, which was incredibly generous. And that's where I am now, waiting out the pandemic with my parents. So the importance of that can't be overstated. But I often chalk it up to having a degree in something else and having cultivated really deep, beautiful friendships with people, many people in my industry, but also many people out of the industry. I still keep in touch with many friends, from high school, from college, who are not currently, or maybe never have been in this world.
Yes.
That I've found to be an incredibly healthy thing for me personally. Just remembering that there are other ways of living, other ways that life can look, that can be really hard to remember sometimes, because it's such an all-consuming industry sometimes. So that's been big. I'm also one of the, there aren't a lot of working artists in my family, or I should say there are many very artistic people in my family, but in terms of choosing that as a career, I'm one of the only ones. So I have a lot of family members around me who have very different life paths and, made many different life decisions and choices and work in many different ways. So I've always had a lot of easy access to what other people's lives are like, what other people's jobs are like, what they're doing. Also, I've always just had a lot of interests. And I've been very, lucky that I was never pressured to quit any of them at any point. So there are just a lot of things I've always liked to do. And I've found, I didn't quite buy into this when I was just starting out, but now I've realized that taking time to cultivate things besides just your stage presence has not only been really good for me mentally, but also has really improved my craft and my relationship with my craft. I feel like I have so much more to offer than I would have if I didn't allow myself to take time for my music, to read the books I want to read, to be bad at cooking. And, it affords a much richer life experience. So realizing how positively that impacts my art form has given me the permission I need to really make a well-rounded life a priority. I feel very fortunate that many of the experiences I've had have been formative for me. Like I've just been so lucky to work with some wonderful people who really just consistently expanded my understanding of what this art form could be and what the profession, the business side of it could be. I think part of that also is because I did not study it formally very much. I was going into it with just both eyes wide open, knowing that I knew very little, that I was the least experienced person in the room most of the time, that I had the most to learn and the most to prove, which wasn't always a great mindset to be in, but it was there. So in many ways, my first professional experience was tremendously transformative. The Notre Dame Shakespeare Festival, that was my first gig summer after I graduated, doing Shakespeare for the first time, playing my instrument, really intrinsically within the story. Like that really opened up this world of, hey, this hobby that you've cultivated for many years just because you liked it actually is incredibly valuable to you in this industry. Like keep playing, keep practicing. So there was that experience. The first time I played at like a large Lort theater was the Utah Shakespeare Festival. I was in teeny, tiny, predominantly music roles, but again, was just like absorbing all of this genius from the people around me and, getting used to being far away from my network for the first time. Even this, in 2019, I was at a theater, American Players Theater in Wisconsin, and that had been a kind of a dream theater that once again, because I played music, I was what they were looking for. So I found myself at this place that I just was incredibly intimidated by and needed to work through that. And fortunately felt like I was able to by the end. And so just that process of kind of really having to finally come face to face with my own insecurities about not having the training, not having the experience, and working through that and realizing that I could do it. I could be there and I could, hold up the team and do my job alongside everybody else. That really was kind of felt like a big breakthrough for me, personally and professionally, just feeling like I didn't have to worry about being kicked out of the industry anymore, that I was not going to be found out, that maybe I could start feeling just a bit more comfortable and a bit more confident and like I was here to stay. I continue to cultivate the things in your life that are not just acting. And I don't just say that from a sense of like, it's good for your mental health. That's definitely true. But even from an artistic standpoint, find the little things that you do that are unique or different. For me, it was music. And keep doing those things because they will come in handy. There will be a role that calls for someone who can juggle. There have actually been many roles I've seen where someone needs to juggle. So if you know how to juggle, keep juggling. If you like to dance, keep dancing. If you play any musical instrument, definitely keep playing. If you sing, keep singing. If you have a weird whistling trick or truly anything that you can do that has taken practice of any kind, keep doing that. And that will only be of use to you because I can't tell you how many times the simple fact that I play an instrument at a reasonably proficient level has gotten me work or gotten me an audition or gotten me an introduction or something. It's been tremendously helpful and in many ways has made up for not having the degree, and really never been a moment where I regretted having having studied what I did, and never been a moment where I regretted not having a BFA. It just, everyone has to work through whatever they have to work through in the beginning of their careers, throughout their careers. But that was absolutely the right choice for me, was to study what I did. And it gave me other skills that have made their way on stage. So I definitely encourage people to study other things personally. Yeah.